Hello, welcome back to Siouxland Senior Planning. Today we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about a question that has come up quite a bit this last week at the office. We've had a number of clients asking about the look-back period and Medicaid, and so we're going to talk a little bit about that today. By the end of our show today, you should be able to understand what the look-back period is, how it works, and why it matters if you are thinking about giving assets to your kids or maybe setting up a Medicaid asset protection trust or doing some other Medicaid planning. So the look-back period is a period of time that the state uses to figure out whether or not you have given away something through gifting or maybe a sale to one of your loved ones, probably a child or even a grandchild, for less than fair market value. We talked about that rule or that test with the transfer test when we went through our Medicaid eligibility series. But the look back period is this period of time where a gift is evaluated and in terms of your eligibility. So your Medicaid eligibility is going to be dependent on whether or not you have given assets away within the last 60 months or 5 years, and that's what the look back period is. Right now it is 60 months, and the way that works is Medicaid, or the state agency that runs Medicaid in Iowa, that's called the Department of Health and Human Services. They will look at your application, and you have to say on your application, have you given anything away within the last 60 months? So the first key thing to remember about the look back period then is that it only matters if you are applying for Medicaid. So this 60-month period doesn't start until you have submitted a Medicaid application. As a result, that 60-month period is not irrelevant, but it's not actually the focal point of planning if you're trying to think ahead. So when we do Medicaid asset protection trusts for clients at the office, we talk in great length about the look-back period, but it's mostly just important to remember that your gifting just needs to be done more than 5 years before you apply for Medicaid. So here's, again, the process. Someone goes to a nursing home or is looking for help at home and wants to apply for what's called the Elderly Waiver Program. That person submits their application and they have to sign a sworn statement that they have not given assets away within the last 60 months. The way we worry about the look-back period, or the way we apply the look-back period, is we take your application and we kind of figure out when was the application submitted. And Medicaid uses firsts of the month in Iowa. And so what that means is we're going to take your Medicaid application, let's say you submit it today in August of 2023. We're going to start from not the day you submit the application, but the first day of the month that you submitted the application in. So because we're talking about August, we go to August 1, and then we go back in time and we look back over your gifting history over the last 60 months, and we figure out all of the gifts that you've given over those 60 months. We add up all the gifts to figure out the total amount of what Medicaid calls transfers, and then we take that total and we divide it by the average cost of care in the state. So the reason we're doing this is because Medicaid says that you can give away your assets. There's nothing illegal or bad about giving away assets. That's something that you're allowed to do. The tax code, for example, gives you different ways to do that, and there are tax implications sometimes. But Medicaid is not restricting whether or not you are allowed to give away assets. What Medicaid is doing is they're saying if you're going to give away your assets, you can't then ask the state to pay for your long-term care. And the reason for that is it's not fair to the taxpayer. That's the idea anyway. And so what we do instead is we basically say if you've given assets away within the last 5 years, the state is going to presume that you did that in order to become eligible for Medicaid. Any gifting or transfers that you've done more than 5 years ago is not considered under that presumption. Or to say that differently, if you give a gift and wait more than 5 years to go submit a Medicaid application, the state says, we don't think that you made that gift in order to become Medicaid eligible. And that's simply the definition under the rules. And so the look back period is this 60-month period where we evaluate Did you give a gift in order to become eligible for Medicaid? And that's the presumption created by gifting in the look-back period. Once we know the total amount of gifts, once we know the average cost of care in the state, we can calculate what Medicaid calls the penalty period, and we'll look at a couple of examples of that in next week's episode. Thanks for listening. We'll see you then.